Welcome to the Real Film Nerds Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting installment of the Real Film Nerds Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Matt Hinshaw, on the internets, at Hinshaw Photo everywhere. That is right, I am a photographer. I take pictures in a podcast. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. Anyways, with me as always, from the East Coast in Intercourse, Pennsylvania, my good buddy, Mysterious Mike Talent.
Hey, everyone.
So, Mike, let's just go ahead and get into it. Mike, what are you drinking today?
Oh, man, so I'm drinking a bit of the same thing as usual. It's drama juice from Epic Brewing. It's that New England-style India Pale Ale, and I just love it a lot, so that's what I'm drinking.
You and your IPAs.
Yep.
You love them IPAs. Well, I still have a few of these left over from the Oak Creek Canyon Brewing in Sedona, the Amber Ale. It is a delightful beer. No matter what Steve Stockmar, my recent house guest, says, it's a good beer because he, much like you, Mr. Talent, is an IPA fan. And clearly there's something wrong with both of you.
Yep. We really like it bitter, man. You know, we're just bitter people.
See, and I have enough bitterness in life that I don't need to add any more.
Ah, I see.
Said the blind man to the deaf dog. Oh, that was bad.
That was really bad, dude. That's a terrible joke, dude. Congratulations. You got yours.
That's one of those old jokes, you know? I think my grandpa was the one that said that to me.
Nice, dude. Nice.
Rest in peace, Grandpa. He was a good man. All right, Mike. So we are talking about a movie that opened the same week as a gigantic blockbuster, and it is going by the wayside, and nobody really cares. And that is The Kid. So, Mike, go ahead. Give us the wrap on The Kid.
All right. The Kid was directed by Vincent D'Onofrio. Its writers Andrew Lanham. It's starring Chris Pratt, Vincent D'Onofrio, Leela George, Ethan Hawke, Dane DeHann, Adam Baldwin.
Who's not a Baldwin brother, by the way, people.
And the story of a young boy who witnesses Billy the Kid's encounter with Sheriff Pat Garrett.
Nice. All right, Mike. So I thought this movie was okay. I didn't think it was great. What really, I think, sets it apart, makes it good, better than anything else, is the cinematography and the acting. They are both just out of this world. For me, what really just stinks up this whole movie is this story. I was not a huge fan of the story whatsoever. It's an interesting twist on the story of Billy the Kid, but it didn't grab me. It's not horrible, but it just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, this movie, for me, I really wanted the whole movie to be about Billy the Kid, and instead it's kind of this intertwining of a couple different stories. And Billy the Kid is included, but it was just, you know.
Yeah, he is definitely not the main protagonist in this film. It is the young kid, hence the play on words with the kid, because they pull you in thinking it's going to be Billy the Kid. The main people that are on the movie poster is Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. But in the bottom, you see who it really is about. It's about the young kid and his sister and their uncle, played by Chris Pratt. It's not bad. I just didn't... I wanted it more to be about Billy the Kid and Pat Garrett. But, hey, whatever.
Yeah, it was still kind of cool. I mean, the West, and, this felt like an authentic kind of Wild West movie. I mean, I don't even know if they ever really, well, I guess they said they were in New Mexico, right?
They're in, Billy the Kid's story, historically takes place in most of New Mexico. He pops into Arizona every now and then, and he pops into Mexico proper every now and then. But for the most part, he mostly lived out his days in New Mexico. And
okay, yeah.
What's really interesting is this movie was filmed in New Mexico. It was not filmed in Lincoln County where Billy the Kid took place. This was actually entirely filmed in Santa Fe.
Oh, that is kind of interesting.
So when they say Santa Fe, I'm sure it's not, it's in and around Santa Fe because Santa Fe is a town. So this is probably more on the outskirts of Santa Fe. As you see, there is no town, like, by today's standards in it, which is a good thing. They could have digitally taken it out, but I doubt it. They probably just went a little farther out so they didn't see actual Santa Fe.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking they did.
But yeah, it was kind of neat to actually, this film, a lot of it does take place in Santa Fe, and they did film it in Santa Fe, so that was pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, it is kind of neat when they actually film the movie, at least somewhat in the region of the country that they're supposed to be at. So I like that as well.
Well, for me, at the bare minimum, even trying to be in the state where said story took place makes a huge difference, especially in historical stuff. I mean, as much as I love Tombstone and how well Tombstone was done, Tombstone was not filmed where you and I grew up.
No, not at all.
Or, oh God, dude, the worst one though, the worst one that pisses me off the most, again, a really good, fun Western, fantastic Western is 3:10 to Yuma.
Oh yeah, man!
That one,
the way they represented Bisbee was terrible.
It was so bad, dude. Bisbee, as I like to explain to people that have never been there, Bisbee's kind of like a miniature San Francisco. It's in hills and mountains, and it's very steep, and there's houses dotting all over these hills. And in 3:10 to Yuma, it was completely flat. It looked more like Tombstone than it did Bisbee.
Yeah, that was depressing for me.
Yeah, it was bad. That was, again, great movie. Great Western, especially modern day Western, but God, dude, and they filmed that thing almost entirely in New Mexico.
Yeah, this movie actually reminded me a little bit of 3:10 to Yuma. Some of the aspects of kind of idolizing somebody and being young and
idolizing
Western.
The villain.
Yeah, it was somewhat similar to that. I mean, obviously not completely, but some of that stuff.
I hear you. I enjoyed it, man. I mean, 3:10 to Yuma was great. A great story, great acting. This one, like I said, the cinematography was really good. I think Vincent D'Onofrio's directing was really, really good. The young kid that plays the main character, not Billy the Kid. I'm spacing on his frickin' name.
Oh, hold on.
Right now. Jake Schur, he played Rio.
Yeah.
He either did, much like my take on Brie Larson in Captain Marvel, he either did like a really, really good, solid job at acting, or it just fell apart. There was kind of like no in between.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I can see that. He was just kind of all over the place.
There was a few scenes where I'm just like, really? You're trying to show emotion and it's not coming off like whatsoever. But then there were other scenes where he was showing emotion and he was just killing it. So I don't know. Maybe that's just because he's young. Maybe it's because he's, he's only done a handful of films. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, Matt. I'm not sure either.
But again, if he keeps practicing and keeps getting roles and stuff, I'm sure he'll be a really good talent in his older years, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, all right, Mike, anything else you want to add about the kid before we start getting into the spoiler section? Because, again, like a lot of movies we talk about, especially this one, it's hard not to discuss it without spoiling it. I mean, I think I got my feelings about it across pretty well. Do you feel like you did?
Yeah, I like this movie. It's always good. I'm partial to seeing Western movies, maybe because I grew up in the West and it's somewhat close to kind of where I grew up.
Well, yeah, dude, definitely. I mean, I'm the same way. You and I grew up down the street from each other practically. So we definitely do have the Old West tied to our bones and our blood, even though it's not the Old West when we were growing up here.
Yeah, so I'm always going to be partial to these kind of movies. And, I like this one for the most part. It's not amazing, but it was still pretty good. It was nice to watch a well-executed movie. I think the direction on this movie was pretty good. It is just kind of the story is just meh. It just, I don't know. It just wasn't the best, but...
Yeah, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't anything special.
Yeah, so I guess that's all I would have to say, without spoiling it, so... Okay.
Well, and one thing I was just thinking about, too, is in modern day, and when I say modern day filmmaking, I'd say probably since you and I have graduated high school, so probably, I don't know, the past 19, almost 20 years now. Jesus. Now I feel old. Thanks, Mike. Oh, wait, I did it to myself.
I didn't even do anything, but I'm sorry.
But the Western genre is one you really don't see much anymore. I mean, I can think of a handful of Westerns since I graduated high school, 310 to Yuma being one of them. And it seems like that's one of those genres that's kind of falling apart. I don't know. Maybe it's because the superhero world is just taking over everything, and everybody is trying to capitalize on that. But I think if you do a really, really well done, well written, well acted Western, you'll get people to go see it. I mean, Tombstone, that was done when I think we were in high school or middle school. I don't remember.
I think that was like 92. Hold on.
I thought it was like 95.
To the internets.
To the
Stand
internets.
by, Matt. Start talking. 93.
93. Oh, man. I thought it was 95. Anyway, so yeah, we were fairly young, but that movie did great at the box office.
Yeah, no, it was, to this day, like, even though it doesn't quite represent where it was actually at 100%, I really enjoyed that movie. It was just good filmmaking. It was really cool, Val Kilmer and Sam Elliott and, now I'm thinking,
Kurt Russell,
yeah, were just awesome, and even Bill Paxton, rest in peace, buddy.
Yeah, Bill Paxton was one of the brothers. Oh yeah.
So that was just a good Western. I'm trying to think, has there been any other real good Western that's come out since 310? Like, I feel like 310 was the best one in a little while.
Well, I have not watched, and it's one that's on the list for us to do as a tributary, but the one we're doing for Thursday, I think, is a little more timely, but is the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Oh, yeah. No, I haven't watched that either. Yeah, and that's done by the Coen brothers, right? That's their the latest Coen brothers thing?
Right. And it actually originally was supposed to be a show, and it ended up being compressed into a bunch of small stories into a movie. So, but yes, I would like to watch that and talk about that one. That's on my list, my personal pick list. So we'll get to it eventually, but the one we're talking about on Thursday just came out on Netflix. Both Mike and I were very excited to watch it and talk about it, and I think a lot of people are watching it, and that's Triple Frontier. I mean, God, what a cast,
Yeah, no, yeah, it's got a big-time cast, this is... I mean, Hollywood is definitely worried about these kind of movies.
Well, and to get back on the topic of Tombstone, the majority of Tombstone was filmed in Arizona. It just was not Southeast Arizona.
Yeah, no, I do know that, but I still felt it was kind of a sham.
Yeah, it was filmed at old Tucson Studios before the Great Fire that pretty much wiped it out, and it hasn't been the same since.
Yep.
I mean, I remember I can point out like scenes when you watch Tombstone exactly where that was. Because I mean, you remember when we were kids, that was like my birthday thing for a long time. For those of you who are not my friend, I was born in October, so we used to go to old Tucson Studios every year right around my birthday. It might not be my actual birthday, but right around it, because old Tucson Studios still does do this. They do like a Halloween thing, kind of like Universal does. And it's with movie accurate blood, guts, and gore, and they have shows, and they have like one, maybe two haunted houses. But the whole place, it's turns into like Halloween-esque at night in October. And that was like the thing we did on my birthday for a long period of time until it got really expensive.
Yeah, and they have like train robberies, but like all this. It's kind of fun. It is fun
for growing up as a kid. It was great, and now you go to Universal, and Universal is enormous and 20 houses and all this stuff. Back then, it was the haunted train ride, and the train would slow down at some point, and guys would come out of the bushes and rob you and stuff. And it was fun. It was fun. I enjoyed it growing up as a kid. So,
it was great.
I don't remember what they call it. Nightfall. I just remember that. They called it Nightfall at Old Tucson Studios.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, anyways, that was a freaking blast. I love that. But I can go and I can point out like exactly where that building was back then and stuff. But like I said, that big fire took almost that whole freaking studio out, and almost all those buildings don't exist anymore. Not, some of them they did rebuild, like the church and stuff like that. I mean, not church, the mission, which is, they use it as a church and stuff. But like most of the stuff on Main Street burned, and it's just, anyways, not to get too off topic. All right, well, Mike, let's go ahead. Let's get into our spoiler discussion with this one question. Mike, how does 2019's The Kid relate to the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
This one is very easy, considering it's starring Chris Pratt. And Chris Pratt is Peter Quill in Guardians of the Galaxy 1, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and Avengers Infinity War.
What? No way.
Yes.
Dude, speaking of Chris Pratt, what do you think? How do you think he did as a villain?
I thought he was pretty good, but I feel like his character was underutilized in this movie. I feel like he could have been more. Like, he seemed very, like a bad guy and stuff, but I felt like they didn't... I mean, just having him in this movie was good, but they didn't really utilize him. I don't know.
He didn't make enough appearances.
Opinion. Yeah.
Well, and the other one that just drove me freaking nuts, just absolutely nuts, was the makeup. His beard, specifically, was just so bad. It was so bad, dude. It was awful. You didn't notice that, Mike?
Yeah, no, it was. I was taking a drink, Matt. Sorry.
Oh, Mike was taking a drink. Sorry. Drink break.
Yeah, Yeah, no, it was bad. But for the most part, that didn't distract me as much as I just felt like he wasn't utilized. Like, I wanted to see more of him, not because I knew he was in this movie, but I thought he could be a good bad guy, and it was just...
Well, yeah.
He wasn't really... He's in very first couple minutes, and then he's in it for the last couple minutes. Like, he's not in it for... I'd say he's in the movie less than 15 minutes?
It's probably a little bit longer than that, but yeah, it's not a whole lot, that's for sure. And it's kind of depressing because he is top billed. He really is. When Ethan Hawke has a lot more in here, and even Dane DeHann has a lot more in here. But it's just, yeah. I would love to see Chris Pratt do another villain role in another film down the line.
Yeah, Matt, speaking of Western movies, I was just trying to think of another Western that I'd seen recently. And, recent is in quotation marks. The last Western I remember seeing that was pretty good was True Grit, and that was a remake.
Yeah, that was good. I did enjoy that.
And that was 2010.
Really?
So
has it really been that long?
Yeah, and it's starring Haley Steinfeld, the girl who's in Bumblebee and all that stuff, and she was a lot younger. So it was like, and Jeff Bridges and Matt Damon and Josh Brolin. So wow,
dude, that was a good movie. I did enjoy that. I have yet to watch the original, but I did enjoy the remake quite a bit, and mostly, yes, Jeff Bridges did a great job, but mostly Haley Steinfeld. I mean, she really is just, wow. She did so good.
Yeah, so I think that was the first role I actually remember seeing her in, where she was like the starring role, and she's kind of just continued to grow as an actress and stuff. So, it's been that, but that was the last, I think, good Western that I can remember.
It's too bad, man. It's really just going by the wayside. Again, I love my superhero movies. I love my comic book movies, but you got to have a little bit of variety. In Western, I mean, you can't get more American than the Western. Well, I was thinking about this the other day when I was driving down to the Rattlers. Actually, yesterday, when I was driving down to shoot the Rattlers game yesterday, I was like, I was just thinking while I was driving, the comic book hero is really kind of a American creation as well. Now, Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy and stuff like that is more of like a British European creation, but comic book heroes, if you can think about it, it really kind of started with Superman. And so maybe comic book heroes are starting to become the new Western. I don't know.
In a weird way, that kind of actually makes sense, but I still miss the original Westerns and stuff. And
I agree, man. I love Westerns. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about it, but one of my all-time favorite Westerns ever is a good old-fashioned spaghetti Western starring Mr. Clint Eastwood, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. I mean, that movie...
Oh, man, you beat me to it. I was going to talk about Clint Eastwood. I felt like he really helped define the genre.
Yeah, that movie is long as shit. It has some boring parts, but it is so good. Oh. Everything Clint Eastwood has done for us, man. We're letting him down.
Now, it amazes me that Clint Eastwood is still in the game, man. It's awesome. It's just incredible that he's still directing, still even starring in movies. I mean, the guy's, he's in his late 80s, and he's still just doing stuff. I mean, it's so cool. He loves it. He absolutely just loves it and wants to do stuff, because there's no other reason to continue.
Dude, what if Clint Eastwood did like a Western like today? Like he was some like old, like super grizzled, washed up like cowboy. And like it's that transition between the Old West and modern day. How interesting would that be?
I don't know, man. When he did Unforgiven, which has been quite a few years now, that was like the mid 90s or early 90s. It was so good. And I was just blown away. Like that movie was so good. I mean, it's sad, but man, was that a good movie. I don't know if he could ever top that, and I kind of wonder if he ever is like, yeah, that was really good. I don't think I can top that. And so he's just never done it again.
Dude, that's a good point. That's a very, very good point. All right, so Mike, let's get back on the kid. The story is, like I said, it's not horrible. It's not great, though. It's clearly a story about morality and a story about domestic violence.
Yeah, morality and domestic violence and I guess good versus evil. I don't know, like, which is I guess morality, but
well, not so much good versus evil. It's morality. I mean, think about it. Ethan Hawke was talking about how he killed a man and went and turned himself in. And the sheriff said, well, you didn't because he was drunk and he was trying to hurt you kind of thing. And then, spoilers again, the young kid kills his father after his father literally sat there and beat his mother to death. So is that he murdered him or he was defending himself. I mean, again, that's where the whole thing about morality comes in. And that's just a small sliver for this movie.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's I did like this movie for the most part, though. Like, it still has a decent flow to it and stuff, and it's an okay movie. It's just not great.
It has that problem like our last pod, where the title of the film tries to tell you it's one thing, or you assume it's one thing, and it comes off as something else. I mean, you really think this is a movie about Billy the Kid and Pat Garrett, and it is not. I mean, they're characters, but they are side characters. They are not the main characters.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely lured me in with the kid, because why would I go see a movie that, you know...
Where Billy the Kid is in only half of it? Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's for sure. They definitely lured us in with that.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's just that's interesting. It's 2 movies in a row now that we've reviewed that's like that. But anyways, the story is the only thing that I really had much of an issue with in here. And like I alluded to, this will be the 3rd or 4th time. It's okay. It's not incredible, but it's okay. The cinematography was shocking. I thought the cinematography was really good.
Yeah, it did have some good cinematography. I was sitting there thinking about it actually when I was, watching the movie. I was like, this movie's pretty well shot. I was like, I like this.
There's a lot of scenes in here that I haven't seen done that way. Like, for instance, when Dave Rudabaugh is hung and the young kid is up there, and how they shot that with Rudabaugh like hanging down through the gallows, and the kid has like his head above the gallows and they're matching eyes and stuff. Never seen a hanging shot like that. That was really neat.
Oh, yeah. I mean, super impactful. Like, that was a really interesting way of doing it. And I like that as well. Yeah, no, that was cool. This movie has a lot of cool stuff in it. It's just not quite, I don't know, it just didn't quite do it for us, Like, we weren't, I don't know.
Yeah, it hits a certain level, but it doesn't get to the peak.
Yeah, it just stays at that level.
Right.
Like a mid-level, not a like high, awesome level.
All right, well then, Mike, since you're already teasing it, let's go ahead. How many reels do you give the kid?
I'm going to give the kid 3 reels out of 5 because it was, it was entertaining and I liked it, and I would recommend you see it. So, we don't have a lot of Western movies anyway, so I think you should see this one. It was good. It's a little bit violent, but I wouldn't say it's too crazy. I mean, there's definitely some shootouts and things here and there, but it's not too bad. I guess the scene we were just talking about, the hanging, is probably the most intense.
Well, there's some shootouts towards the end and things, but yeah, it's not awful. You don't want to take a young kid to it, that's for sure. But I think if it pops up on Netflix or Amazon or something like that, like it probably will, definitely sit down and take a watch. Do you have to go see it in the theaters? Maybe not. If you've seen Captain Marvel already, there's not a whole lot out there. Sure, go ahead, go see this. And you really want to go see a movie? Do it. This will be worth it. You're not going to be disappointed.
Yeah, for sure. This one is something that you could go watch and you won't be disappointed. It is entertaining. It's a decent movie.
All right, now, as I was discussing with my good buddy, photographer extraordinaire for the Arizona Republic, Patrick, yesterday at the Rattlers game, that's one of the things we do between plays. We sit there and talk about movies. It's hilarious.
Nice. What was Patrick talking about?
Well, we were talking about Captain Marvel a little bit, and I was telling him we were going to talk about this. And he's like, oh, yeah? Let me guess. You're going to give it a 3 or a 3.5 because that's what you give every single movie. I'm like, no, that is not true. I gave Ghostbusters a 5.
Well, hey, man, what was Mortal Engines? What did you give that? Did you give that a half or a full?
No, you gave it a half. I gave it a 1. I think I gave it a 1.
All right. So there you go. Mortal Engines.
Yeah, that was hot garbage. So, anyways, just for you, Patrick, I am going to give The Kid, just like Mike, a 3 out of 5.
Nice. It's good to see that you're not influenced by this these outside forces,
Like I said, I thought the cinematography was great. The acting was good for the most part. The story just falls short, and I put a lot of weight on the story. I really do.
Yeah, and this story was just okay. And so, yeah, I agree with you, man. But I liked a lot of aspects of this movie. So it was kind of a good movie to come out. Unfortunately, it came out against Captain Marvel, and it's just gonna fall away to the wayside. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, seriously, Captain Marvel is what? They're getting close to 500 million worldwide or something? I mean, that's crazy.
Dude, that is crazy. Yeah, it's great. It's great to see Disney just killing it, but wow. It's amazing, man. We have this conversation a lot at work. Disney is pretty much taking over the world. And when they, on March 20th, take over Fox, they're going to have everything. Like, there's going to be hardly anything that's not them.
What a day in history, March 20th.
Yeah, yes, it is.
See, I'm just wondering if, like, in South Park, South Park has Amazon becoming the company store. I wonder if Disney's going to become the company store, and we just have to buy everything and anything Disney and watch anything and everything Disney. Like, everything's just going to be Disney.
Yeah, we'll get Mouse IPA. It'll be, and there'll be like Mouse lagers and everything's just at the company store.
Yeah, we're in trouble, Mike. We're in trouble.
We're in trouble. For sure.
All right. Well, anything else you want to add about The Kid before we sign off?
No, I think I've said everything I wanted to say, and yeah. Thanks everybody for listening, and catch us on our next pod.
Thank you for listening to The Real Film Nerds. Now don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Real Film Nerds. Now go out and catch a movie.